Hello everybody and welcome into PGR eSports live tonight with another recruitment race as we gear up towards the Summer Slam 499 and we make a stop here tonight at Talladega Superspeedway. I'm Austin Green, joining me in the booth tonight, one of the commentators that you will see during the Summer Slam 499 weekend. It's Kody Neagles. Kody, how you feeling here tonight?
I'm excited to see hopefully some fresh faces and have the success that they've had in previous heats. We've seen a lot of new first-time winners in these PGR recruitment races. It's good to see a lot of new names for the SummerSlam 499, and honestly, I'm hoping for more of the same here tonight.
Yeah, a lot of new winners. That's what we like to see, and might get another one of that here tonight. But before we get any further, let's take a look at tonight's starting grid. 2 heat races is the format with a feature that follows. So this is your starting grid for Heat 1. Taking the pole, it's Landon Veliky in the 62 machine on his outside, D3. Daniel Eberhardt makes a return here tonight. Ken McCullough Jr., the captain for McCullough Motorsports, who will roll off third with Michael Triscaro, series owner, to his outside in fourth. Devin Ray back in fifth with J.R. Miller in sixth. Mark Vondell, that's another one of the McCullough Motorsports drivers. He will start in 7th here tonight. Ron Morris Jr. back in 8th with Chris Walker in 9th and Christopher Carter rounding out your top 10.
And in 11, we have Ethan Eckert, Adam Young in 12th. And if I mispronounce a name, please just bear with me here. A lot of new drivers in the field. P13, Nishil Condor. 14th is Josh Sutherland. Jeremy Osborne in 16th. To his outside is Todd Mace. 17th is Tony Richards. 18th is Aaron Watson. 19th is Kenneth Lowry. And in 20th will be James Wagner.
Joshua Colbreth back in 21st with Teresa Speicher in 22nd. We saw her in the last one. We'll see if she can have a little bit better go here tonight. Had some unfortunate luck in the last one. Edward Fielder back in 23rd with David Hagood in 24th. Moving on back to that 25th position, it's Greg Speicher with, looks like, Cedarius Purge back in that 26th spot. Wyatt Blair 27th. William Larson in 28th. And rounding out Heat 1 is going to be Joshua McCullough and Brock Westmoreland in that number 12 car. Again, looking at your race format here tonight. 2 heats followed by a feature. It is the SummerSlam 499 recruitment race. Actually, race number 2 that we broadcasted here on the network as we continue to gear up for that event, which, reminder, will be on July 27th and 28th. But getting back into tonight, 72 degrees outside, 28% humidity, partly cloudy skies, and winds at 2 miles an hour. Talladega Superspeedway, 2.65 miles in length, 130 degrees starting track temp here tonight. So it's going to be hot and slick, especially in these Xfinity cars. But each of these heats will be 15 laps. The feature will be 20, 35% fuel all the way through. So we could see a pit stop potentially even in these heats. We'll talk more about that in just a moment. Unlimited tires, no fast repairs in the heats or the feature. Fixed setups, 3 green-white checkers. That applies to both the heats and the feature. And then also caution should be enabled for not only the feature but the heats as well. So, well, Kody, just before we get going, hot track temp, things are going to be slick. What are you looking for here right out of the gate?
Not really sure if we're going to get a green flag pit stop, but I mean, the opportunity is there, and I'm hoping maybe they can get the field spread out here before we go green. I'd like to see a green flag pit stop, and like I said, hopefully a lot of green flag racing.
All right, here we go. 15 laps and a chance to advance yourself into the feature tonight. Only top 15 will make it. 30 start. 15 from each will go. That'll make up your 30-car feature. Green flag is in the air. We're racing at Talladega. And it's a great start from the 62 machine. Landon Veliky on the inside with the 90 of Daniel Eberhardt on the outside. Not much organization right now, so Daniel Eberhardt, he's going to continue to struggle until that 34, the prime colors, Michael Triscaro, can get enough of a run to get there. Eberhardt did not like what he saw, so he quickly jumped to the inside. That'll open the door for Michael Triscaro. But Landon Veliky continues to lead him now down the backstretch.
Yeah, and that might also be a little bit of a conservative move on Daniel Eberhardt's part. Might be thinking, 15 laps, but he's probably anticipating a quick green flag pit stop because I do believe it's 35% fuel, roughly about 12 laps. So I believe they're going to have to make a green flag pit stop here, and he might already be gearing up for that.
Yeah, so let's break that down just a little bit more here for a moment. So 35%, you figure in these cars, what, Kody? 450 would be maybe about 20 laps. You think half of that, 10? Yeah, boy, it's close. Do you think there's any chance that any of these guys save enough fuel to make it?
I really don't believe that there's just not enough laps to be able to save that kind of fuel, but I do like the idea the 35% fuel opens up for a lot of strategy for the teams that are running 3 and 4 drivers. I think you might start seeing some guys plan to go down here pretty early. I want to say maybe by lap 3, lap 4, you might start seeing a few waves of guys pit just to try to get away from the field and potentially to avoid what could be a very huge wreck.
Yeah, and in general, you probably think of these short heats and you think to yourself, well, it's part of a pit stop. It's a short heat, but we're gearing up for a race where we could potentially see a lot of green flag pit stops. As we'll hold that thought because caution's out for the first time here tonight. As looks like there was some trouble further back for Wyatt Blair in the number 61 machine, and that thing is destroyed. As the left front, or rather right front suspension is completely at a 45-degree angle, and he's got no front bumper, so he will be having to take a tow truck back to the garage, and looks like that is going to be an early end to his night, with caution flying here just almost 3 laps in to the first heat of the night. And man, you can see on the replay before we even actually back this thing up how big of a hit that was. Question is, what got him there? And so he's actually the 00 there, that blue car on the bottom of your screen. Nope. Well, actually, let's make sure we got this right. Yep, the 00. And so the 53 on his outside, that's David Hagood. And, well, it just looks like, not sure what happened there, but, I mean, Wyatt just drifts up the track. Not sure if he didn't know the 53 was out there or thought maybe he was clear. Not sure what the deal was, but he just kind of drifts up into the 53, and then once they get hooked together, that sends the 00 hard into the outside safer barrier. And, I mean, you feel bad for David Hagood. There was nothing he could do there. He had nowhere to go, and it looks like a couple others got collected. The 48 of Cedarius Percy. I think it's Cedarius Percy, and he got pretty big contact there with the outside wall as well. So definitely damage to 2 or 3 cars, but it looks like it's going to be a night ender for Wyatt Blair, potentially David Hagood. And I mean, Kody, we talk about this thing that we like to call tunnel vision. Sometimes you're, staring at the car in front of you, you kind of I don't want to say fall asleep, but you kind of zone out a little bit and just cruising around. Do you think that's a case where maybe that kind of happened here to Wyatt, or do you just think something else happened? I mean, what caused him to drift up here when it looked like he was riding pretty comfortably behind the 66?
Honestly, I think it's probably just more of an inexperienced thing. I think you're going to get that with these open races that are hosted, not password protected. Whereas, the races that we're used to racing in and calling, everyone's usually, pretty good about not drifting up the track and holding a good line and pushing well. You get these kind of races and you're really going to get a mixed bag. You're going to get the drivers that are comfortable holding their line, pushing the lanes. Then you're also going to get the guys who maybe they're relatively new to the service, which that's fine. Maybe they don't have very good hardware. There's people, they might even be running on controller. It's just things that we really don't know, and you have to take that into effect if you're like one of the regular money racers up front. That's why you really don't want to spend any time in the back on these kind of races, because you never really know if you're not familiar with the guy. He might not even be running on that good of hardware. So I don't want to speculate, but I'd say that's probably just more inexperience than anything.
Would have to agree. And the whole point of tonight is to get some of those inexperienced guys in here, give them a chance to potentially not only gain some more experience, but a chance to get into the big event that we've got coming up in a couple of weeks on the money racing side, the PGR SummerSlam 499. Again, that'll be July 27th and July 28th that weekend. Saturday will be all the prelims, and then Sunday will be the main event. Can't forget about the LCQ that will also be Saturday. That will follow after the prelims. And as we continue to get things lined up, continue to give some free entries away in these recruitment races, 3 going to be given away here tonight to the top 3 finishing drivers that are not considered regular money racers. So, I mean, good example here. Let's just say you look at J.R. Miller. He's one of the regulars that we see in PGR along with multiple other series. So he's not eligible tonight for one of those SummerSlam entries. However, there is a separate pot going out to the drivers that paid to enter this race here tonight. $10 entry fee, and any of the drivers that paid that $10 entry fee, which again are going to be most of the regulars, they will be fighting for a top 4 payout here tonight. I believe it was 100 to first, 70 to second, 50 to third, and 20 to fourth, again, of those drivers who had to pay to enter this. So you're going to have people in here with less experience going for an entry into one of the biggest events of the summer, and then drivers going for a little extra money tonight as they continue to prep for one of the biggest events of the summer, I guess I should say. But Kody, how about this? Guess who's out in front? This is William Larson And right now, he's having a phenomenal run. He's up 27 positions from where he started this race at. And what got him to there? Well, it was a little bit of strategy on the pits. Now, I don't know how well this is going to work out, but we talked so much about inexperience just a moment ago that, you know, maybe if he doesn't feel like his odds are great in this heat, maybe he just wants to see if he can get up here, lead a couple laps and see if he can get comfortable at the front.
I mean, look, if I was in this particular race and I was in the back, say, where William Larson was, and a caution come out like that and you see everyone pit, I don't even think it's a bad idea just to flip the track position. Look, we said you're looking at roughly 12 laps on a tank. So he might be thinking, well, you know, he's really close right now with that caution. I don't think he'll be able to make it, but he might be banking on, hey, if we have just one more caution, then I'm good to make it to the end. So yeah, it's quite a gamble, but he's up 27 positions, and there's still a chance that he can make it to the end. Everyone else behind him, they're good to go now. Where William Larson might take one more caution, and he's in the catbird seat.
That he is. The only thing I'm seeing, though, with this 35 is the back end of that race car is pretty beat up, caved in quite a bit. So we'll see if that affects how well Landon Veliky is able to push him here. And we know in super speedway racing, if a guy's not pushable, they're going to dispose of him pretty quickly. So the 35 may get split. We'll keep an eye on that. But Michael Trasquero is going to line up on the outside. Veliky, Miller, row 2. And you've got Ken McCullough Jr. along with the 24 of Ron Morris Jr. Those are two teammates back in row number 3. It looks like Joshua Sutherland and I believe Daniel Eberhardt rounding out row number 4. So it's going to be 10 laps to go as the pace car will make his way down below the yellow line and back into the pits. And with 10 to go, everybody except that 35, from what we know, are good to go on fuel. That means the race is on. How quickly will that third lane develop? And who is going to advance into the feature? Again, it is top 15. If you go back there, Mark Vondell, Aaron Watson, the 2 right around that cut line, 1 just above, 1 just below. Green flag is back in the air. 10 laps to go and a little bit of wheel spin there from Veliky. Eberhardt's going to miss a gear, I think. Oh, no, didn't miss a gear, just a brief checkup. And that stacks him up a little bit on the inside. Ethan Eckert has to bail out of the throttle. And so that causes the inside to really get rolling as Michael Trasquero, J.R. Miller, Ron Morris Jr. all clear. Devin Ray, I think, is even going to sneak in line as well. And that leaves it open out of the 25 of Christopher Carter on the outside. Devin Ray tried to jump up. This Carter split him now. A couple other takers. Oh, boy, things getting dicey. Now they're going to split 3 wide just briefly to 35. Getting caught in the middle end, and Veliky's trying to get to the inside of him. He's going to turn him. The 35 is going to go around. Do we see a caution? Can he save it here? Looks like going to slide back up the racetrack way further back. That's William Larson. And, oh, I thought that car was going to get stuck on the banking, but he's going to be able to get it back rolling. That's going to bring his chances to an end. We'll look back at that in a little bit, but we got to go back live now up front because the action is still intense. 2 by 2 as they cross the line, 9 laps to go.
And Ron Morris Jr., I've been speaking about him a lot on these broadcasts that I've been doing. He's been looking better and better in all of the races that I have been calling. Seeing him out on track, he is one of the more consistent drivers out here. The results, sometimes he might not be getting the results he would prefer because typically, he might be just a few rows back or near where the wreck happens. But, man, he's looked good here lately. And right now, being out front with having Michael Trasquero pushing him, I think his fortunes might be turning around because he is looking very, very well right now.
Guess who up top? Ethan Eckert, Daniel Eberhardt getting a little tandem team going. And look at this, the 90 trying to see if he could shove the 12 even with the other 2 leaders. Ron Morris Jr. still on the bottom, Michael Trasquero in the middle, but all of a sudden the top looking very organized as they cross the stripe. Ken McCullough Jr. made his way up to the top of the racetrack along with Aaron Watson, who's up 6 spots from where he started this race at. Just behind them, looks like the 30 is going to try to make something happen here as well. That's James Wagoner. And then the 05, Joshua McCullough stuck in the middle just above his teammate, Mark Vondell. Brock Westmoreland still up here. But how about this? 8 laps to go, and they are 3 by 3 down the Alabama gang backstretch.
And Kenny McCullough joining the party up there with Daniel Eberhardt and Ethan Eckert is really going to be the driving force of what gets this third lane rolling. With Daniel Eberhardt, he is a fantastic pusher, and with Kenny being behind him, it would not surprise me if they can eventually get Ethan clear, but it's all going to depend on how well can Daniel Eberhardt manage his tips.
Ooh, man, Christopher Carter wiggling in the middle there. He may have made slight contact with Ron Morris Jr., but they all keep it together. But how about the racing we're seeing right now? We talked about inexperience. These guys all look like seasoned pros out here as they continue to run 3x3 with a scorching hot track temp. Remember, 130 degrees, and it has not cooled down. That is making it very tough on not only the tire wear, but also these engine temps and trying to stay cool. That becomes an issue, and you've been pushing a certain guy for too long. You need some air, and if you can't get it, your lane is going to go backwards. But Michael Triscaro has been trying to work the lanes around a little bit, and so far it's paying off. He's looking to see if he can capture a win here in Heat 1 to advance. Oh, out back Velakino, that's the 54. Trying to go, that's Todd Macy. What a save. I think that was Todd Macy, at least in the 54. We're going to have to go back and find out for sure. Yes, it was. Man, what a save that was from Macy. But, man, that's a tough break as he's going to fall out of the pack. It looked like he got ran into. And we'll back that one up here just real quickly and get one more angle of this here. Watch Todd Macy. This is coming off of turn 4. Well, he washes up a little bit, but I think, couldn't tell who that was, and the yellow, white, and black car just on his outside came down a little bit and hooked the 54 up. But, man, that was a beautiful save by Todd Macy.
And I love to see Michael Triscaro getting more comfortable by the day. As it used to be, we'd always talk about how Triscaro would want to stay on the bottom and run the more conservative route, the more conservative line, just to try to stay out of the wreck and get a good finishing position. But, you know, he's been rotating these lines and looking more and more like a seasoned vet by the day. I see Landon Velike went up to the third to get a push from Ethan Eckert, but again, it looks like that third keeps dying out and they can't maintain enough momentum because of the hot track.
Yeah, and it'll continue to be that way. I mean, they're trying to figure out a way to get something going right now. By the way, 62, a couple rows back at the bottom is Velike. The one up top is Joshua Sutherland. And yeah, Kody, I was kind of confused too. I'm looking at him here and I'm like, boy, Velike's in 2 spots. The 62 up top, though, different paint scheme than the one on the bottom. And again, that is, looks like, I believe that's Joshua Sutherland as he will now surge out in front. Oh, hold on to it. No, they're not going to. Devin Ray back up into the pack. Huge wreck here with 5 to go. Caution is out. We had one almost upside down. It was Devin Ray. Daniel Eberhardt got up on his side as well. And the big one strikes with 5 laps to go here in heat number 1. Boy, Devin Ray's car is torn to pieces. Daniel Eberhardt in the same boat. Doesn't look like he's going to be able to continue. And it was almost like a ticking time bomb, and as great as the racing had been, you almost wondered when something had to give, and it finally did. And unfortunately, looks like a couple of the drivers that we thought were going to have a good night tonight, not going to be a contender anymore. Teresa Speicher, can't tell if she's got any damage there on the left rear. It almost looks like she does. Yeah, there certainly is at least a little bit. Ooh, the back end completely ripped off, so that'll probably end her night as well. Now, this might put us into our first green-white checkered, but let's go back and, before we look at that yellow flag, by the way, I do want to get one more brief look at what actually happened here to William Larson. Now, this is kind of one of those things that I feel like we don't see as much, and I want to say more casual races, but I think this is going to be a lesson here for William Larson in that Velike is going to get a run here. Actually, we'll back this all the way up to where it starts, and right here. So, coming off of turn 2, Velike's got a little bit of a run, but the 35's washing up. Velike sees that, and he doesn't know William too well, so he says, okay, I'll just go ahead and split, look for the inside, and now they're 3 wide. The 35, I think, kind of wants that spot back, and Velike feels like, you know, I'm here, I want it now, and I think Larson maybe kind of tried to, you know, push him down a little bit. I'm not sure if Velike just didn't like it or what, but eventually they can't get it sorted out as they get together here coming to turn 3, and Velike turns him across the nose. 35 goes for a slide here. Loops it around a couple times, didn't hit anything, so that was not what brought out the caution, but this was, which we're going to go all the way up here and see exactly how this one gets started. And if we go to the chopper view, I think it was somewhere around Devin Ray, Ron Morris Jr., those 2 cars start to get out of shape, and yeah, it looks like Devin Ray in the 2. Watch here as they get into turn 3. Ooh, the 12 of Ethan Eckert. He does get some of that tunnel vision. He follows the 62 of Sutherland down the racetrack after Sutherland gets clear. I don't think he meant to do it. He's just so focused on trying to push him. And as he follows him down the racetrack, Devin Ray's running there. The 12 gets into Devin. That sends the 2 down into the 34 and the 24. And then, you know, track this hot. Tires already worn out a little bit. A little bit of a ping-pong effect before the 2 gets shot back up into the 90 of Daniel Eberhardt. He gets up along and rides the safer barrier. And then Devin Ray, and I'm looking at some of the others that are involved in this here. I mean, there's a whole bunch of big names that we thought had a great shot at this. There is Eckert. Nothing he can do. And I think, trying to figure out exactly who that was that got turned down in the 30. I think that's James Wagoner. Yes, it is. And as he goes for a slide, he tries to get it straightened out. There's the 58, it looks like, as well, also involved. But that's Aaron Watson. I mean, Kody, it's just a matter of time, right? And as great as the racing we saw was, that's just one of those mistakes where nothing intentional, just we call it tunnel vision for a reason. I think Eckert just got so fixated on the back bumper of Sutherland as he was trying to get him clear, which he did a great job of, that as the 62 drops follows, and rest is history.
And it really throws a monkey wrench into how this race at least looked like it was going to go. I mean, now you have Josh Sutherland leading. So ultimately, that caution probably was a very fortunate one for Sutherland, because now he's going to have lane choice and going to be leading the field with, honestly, several of the favorites for this heat. Guys like Devin Ray and Daniel Eberhardt, they're killed, they're out. Definitely just kind of changed the running order and changed a lot of guys' chances of making the feature here tonight. Just, 15 cars moving on, and probably closer to that cut line, there's going to be guys that may not have had a chance to move on that now are looking like, hey, I'm looking to capitalize on what just happened.
Indeed. Well, the pace car crosses the line, and it looks like the lights are going to get flipped off, so that means 1 to go. And up front, it is Joshua Sutherland and Michael Triscaro, Christopher Carter, Ron Morris Jr., row 2, J.R. Miller, and Ken McCullough Jr. back in row 3. And then Nichelle Condor in 7th, Landon Velicki 8th, Chris Walker 9th, and Brock Westmoreland rounding out your top 10. So, be a 2-lap shootout, green, white, checkered, attempt number 1. We have 3 in total, but how it works is we have got to make it 1 lap all the way around to the white flag for this race to be official. And if we can't, then we will rack them up and try it again. As good to see everybody out in the chat watching here tonight. I'm sure we might see a couple of these drivers in Heat 2. But Nin, good to see you in here. Heath Joe, Devin Ray, David Flanagan, Benjamin Richards, Connie Osborne, Adam Kilday. Everybody's having a good night. And so with a 2-lap to go shootout, Kody, this is a tough choice, right? Because in general, these cars take probably 3/4 of a lap to maybe even a full lap to really get all that momentum going and get everybody up to speed enough to where you can make the surge and try to get that third lane working. But when you only have 2 laps, you almost feel like you got to try to jump right from the get-go. So if you're a driver, say, I don't know, maybe not quite in the middle of the pack, but somewhere closer to the end of the top 10, maybe you're a Landon Velicki, or actually I'll do one better, just above Landon Velicki here in the 27. I want to make sure that we get everybody right. I think that's Chris Walker. Then what's your game plan here? What do you try to do? Do you stay in line and wait for something to happen in front of you, or do you try to be the instigator and make that move?
I don't think I make the move here. If you're sitting in a transfer spot, I don't see any reason to want to push the envelope and put yourself in a 3-wide situation where people behind you might fill it and then you might be on the outside looking in. So if I'm inside the top 15 here, especially if I'm inside the top 10, I think I'm content where I'm at.
Indeed. All right, well, here we go. 2-lap shootout. And who is going to advance in the feature? Again, top 15, so keep an eye on that scoring tower. Look around those 15th positions, see who's going to sneak in at the end. Green flag is back in the air, 2 laps to go at Talladega. And you've got Joshua Sutherland. Gets a pretty good restart, but Michael Triscaro is going to match him here gear to gear into turn number 1. The 24, Ron Morris Jr. doing all the pushing on the outside. And on the inside, it is Christopher Carter. They will stay 2 by 2, but as they work their way out to the back, that's where I think you would potentially see that first 3-wide move be made. Question is, who's going to do it, if anybody? Doesn't look like anybody's content to go just yet. The 23 thought would maybe be the first one to take a peek at a line, Chris Walker, but he's not going to do so. So they'll stay 2 by 2 into turn 3.
And Michael Triscaro in the catbird seat's just going to drop down, and it's going to put teammates leading the middle line here. Going to have Kenny McCullough pushing Ron Morris Jr., and I think all of them guys are going to be content just pushing their way in. You might see a move potentially from Josh Sutherland moving up in front of Michael Triscaro, but then again, every one of them guys is in a transfer spot right here as we come to 1 to go.
But everybody wants to win, right? 1 lap to go at Talladega. The question is, who wants it the most? Michael Triscaro leads him into turn 1 on the bottom. Ron Morris Jr., oh, he gets turned into the field. This is going to stack him up, but it's the white flag, so we'll keep it green. Triscaro gets turned leading into 1, and who comes out of it here? Looks like Joshua Sutherland will take the lead down the back. Ken McCullough Jr., he made it through clean. Does he have enough time? Does he have enough help to get back up here? Oh, man, the 03. He's in drafting range. Oh, he's got a little bit of damage on the front, though. I don't know if he's going to have enough here. Veliky's going to push him, though. I think, though, if Sutherland's clean, I think he's going to be okay here. Final time off of turn 4. They've got to run. Is it enough? One's looking to the outside. That's Joshua McCullough. Ken McCullough Jr., here they come to the Tribal. It's going to be really, really close. Big momentum out back in the 62. Hold on. Here they come to the line. Ken McCullough Jr. darts to the outside. He's going to steal it right at the line. Ken McCullough Jr. with the assist from Landon Veliky has just enough momentum to sneak by Joshua Sutherland, and he wins it by 0.03 of a second.
Boy, what a crazy finish to that race. It looked like the bumper hook bug, struck again with Josh Sutherland, hooking Michael Triscaro, and that is an absolute, gotta be a heartbreaker for Triscaro, because I know he was looking forward to this. He'd been talking to me about it all day, and he was fired up that he can actually get back in the car. And boy, you've got to feel for Michael Triscaro here in the heartbreak, because it sure looked like he was in the catbird seat. Josh Sutherland, solid run up until that point, but what a run for Kenny McCullough to get that win and steal it from Josh Sutherland.
And that's 2 in a row, at least for the races we've been broadcasting here for the recruitment races. Ken McCullough Jr. won his heat in the last recruitment race, and he does the job again here tonight. All right, let's go back here, and we need to look at a couple things. By the way, looking at those last transfer spots, looks like, I think that's Chris Speicher. Again, I want to make sure I have the names right. Excuse me, Greg Speicher, I apologize. Was one of the guys in that last position, and then we'll get the rest of those results in just a moment. And unfortunately, well, it doesn't look like it's going to let us go back here with the way this is formatted. Well, we might be able to here. We're going to go ahead and do a little bit of behind-the-scenes work, as you can see on your screen. You're going to pull up the UI and see if we can go about this a little bit more the manual way. And if we go... Well, it's tough here. I was thinking about who we should go take a look at, but... I don't think we're not going to unfortunately have time to do it. So we're not going to have a chance to go back and look at exactly what happened with Michael Triscaro, at least not right now. But Kody Neagles telling you there from what he saw in the replay that it did look like some sort of bumper net code. And so let's see here. We'll go ahead and we'll look at the results here real quick before we get into the next starting grid. Have to do it a little bit quick, though, as these guys are already sitting on the grid and getting ready to go. But Heat 1, here's how things ended up. Your race winner, Ken McCullough Jr., Joshua Sutherland 2nd, Landon Veliky 3rd, Joshua McCullough 4th, Todd Macy 5th, Mark Vondell 6th, Adam Young in 7th. And then actually looking at the results here, it looks like things kind of flipped up a little bit, because back in 8th, Teresa Speicher, where did she come from? Might be Spiker, by the way. Looks like from the chat it might be Spiker, so I apologize if I was pronouncing that wrong. She finishes back in the 8th position. Edward Fielder in 9th. Brock Westmoreland 10th. Tony Richards 11th. Aaron Watson in 12th. Kenneth Lowry in 13th. Greg Spiker in 14th. And Michael Triscaro still able to advance, at least from what it's showing. He's being scored 15th. That's all we're going to have time for right now, is Heat 2 is underway as these guys get rolling. So let's take a look at the starting grid here for your second heat. Jeff Merck will start on the pole. Dylan Jones to his outside. Tom Dixon back in the 3rd spot. Moving on back to the outside row 2, it's Trevor Osranoff, Matt Lee, Sean Boundy, row 3. Richard Elliott 7th, Tony Cox in 8th, Randy Showers 9th, and Mike Davenport rounding out your top 10.
And in 11th, we have Noah Lurch, Joe Huerta in 12th, Nick Seipel in 13th, Josh Jimbroni in 14th, Ethan Holland in 15th, Chris McCullough in 16th, Douglas Johnson in 17th, 18th is Jonathan Herbert, 19th is Drewski Smith, and rounding out the top 20 is John Stapleton.
Moving on back to 21st, it's Timmy Lewis Jr., Paul Fly in the 22nd spot, Zach Saunders 23rd, Jacob Johnson 24th, Joey Galati 25th with looks like Gabriel Gali in that 26th spot, Terry Wilson 27th, John Ward in 28th, Enothian Gutierrez back in 29th, and Brent Rubidox in 30th. And again, Kody, I know Kody gave the disclaimer earlier, but when you get these recruitment races and all these new names, I apologize if we pronounce some of them wrong. If you're in the chat watching and you know how to say it and we're not saying it right, by all means, let us know. We'd be more than happy to try to get it right, as I know we're going to see a lot of these same drivers in the Summer Slam, and so, of course, we'll make sure that we have it correct by then, but it certainly helps if everybody lets us know now. All right, here we go. Heat 2, 15 laps, same setup. Same amount of fuel and the same amount of transfer spots to get into the feature. Top 15 will advance. Can Jeff Merck find a victory lane early here tonight? Tom Dixon in second. On the inside, Dylan Jones, Trevor Osnoff on the outside. Green flag is in the air. Heat 2 is underway at Talladega, and it's a great start for the outside. Boy, Matt Lee, almost as if he timed that up, he quickly jumped to the top lane almost before they even crossed the start-finish line. Was able to get in front of Sean Boundy there. But on the outside, Dylan Jones has all the momentum in the world. Jeff Merck, not a lot of help, just him and Dixon as they work their way onto the back stretch. And looks like it is going to still be a dead heat, though. Now it's the outside that starts to fall apart a little bit, as Sean Boundy, not a good enough of a run to stick to the 89, and Matt Lee, just as quickly as he was on the outside, he's back to the inside by the time they get to turn 3.
And Tom Dixon, longtime member of the community, it's good to see him starting up toward the front in this race. And well, he's following up the track just a little bit. He followed Jeff Merck, but as I was saying, it's good to see Tom Dixon out here and being lead pusher, now the lead car on the bottom being pushed by Matt Lee. Hoping to see him hopefully lock himself into the SummerSlam 499.
Still 2x2, first lap, and Heat 2 is complete. And looking at that fuel window and some of the early cautions and then some of the big wrecks we saw towards the end, does that change the strategy here if you're a driver in Heat 2, Cody? Do you maybe try to pit earlier? Do you pit later? How do you run this thing out?
Man, if I have numbers in my Discord right now, we're talking, if you have a group of 3 or 4, I think as soon as the window opens, I'm getting out, pitting, because then if a caution comes out, you will cycle to the lead once every other driver pits. I think the play here, if you think you can push speed, get in and out of pit road as soon as you can.
It's a big keyword, if you think you can. If you make the wrong call and this thing goes caution-free, you could be in a world of trouble at the end of this thing. A little bit of 3 wide further back here, so I think a couple drivers are still trying to get things sorted out, but I think they're going to all be able to do so here without any issues. The 15 on the bottom here, Zach Saunders. Let's take a ride on board with him and what he sees right now through the eyes of his cockpit and bring up to speed for you here and just how fast they run these Xfinity cars at Talladega. Mid 180s through the corner, and this is in the middle of the pack. They're probably running a little bit faster than that near the front, but as he jumps to the outside, all the draftees getting down the straight. These guys will get close to 200 miles an hour by the time they're down into turn 3, 195, almost 196. Actually, he's able to just clip it there, and he sees that third lane working, so where's he going to go? He's going to go right to the outside as Saunders will jump out there. He'll try to go to the 8 here of the line. Well, looks like that line was being led by Christopher McCullough. Now they're going to get another one to jump out. Christopher McCullough is going to get some help here from, is that the one of Joe Herta? Yes, it is. And so the 92 of John Ward back there as well, along with a couple others. A lot of the regulars, Cody, hopping in this outside line, trying to get something going. There goes Sean Boundy. He'll jump to the top in turn 1.
Yeah, Sean Bounty, no stranger to super speedways. That third is building a lot of momentum with the right guys right now. Bounty, Herta, Chris McCullough, and John Ward is a great way to lead the third line. We'll see if they can do any better with the third, because it looked like the third in the last heat kind of struggled a little bit with being able to push and manage temps.
No struggle right there, though, for that third lane, as they were able to easily push the 34 out in front before they got to turn 3. And that's the experience of Sean Boundy. Maybe not as much experience with some of these guys, but Joe Herta, KSR, he's been around here at the money racing scene now for maybe a month or 2, and he's starting to figure things out. So those two linked up very well, and now that's got Boundy a position in the middle. Look at this, Christopher McCullough going to do the same thing for the one of Herta, who goes to the middle. Oh, Christopher McCullough to the outside. Ward's going to get turned down the track. Now the big one's going to strike in Heat 2. As multiple cars involved, Ward's in it. They're still wrecking up front. Guys plowing into the wreck late. The 43 just got involved. The 72 of Tony Cox is in it, one of the fan favorites. Christopher McCullough, along with 51 of Andrew Smith, Nick Sipple. And man, oh man. Well, that was, I'm not really sure what happened there, but once it led to that stack up on the outside, somebody got turned down the track, and it was carnage from there. So we'll get immediately back to this one to start reviewing it, because there was looked like a lot of things that kind of happened here in a short period of time that led to this. And it all starts with something that gets Christopher McCullough turned into the outside wall. Now, you noticed he pushes Joe Herta clear. We're going to go to the chopper view first, see if we can see what happens here. He pushes Joe Herta clear. Herta goes down to the middle. Christopher McCullough here is going to look to try to, well, whatever the case was, he had to jump out of the throttle. You saw the fire out of pipes. Chris got out of the throttle here. I don't know if he felt like he was going to turn the one if he hit him or what the deal was. But once he gets out of the throttle here, I mean, Ward's got a great big run, and he's got guys behind him. He just can't check up quite enough and gets into the 92 of Ward. That sends Christopher McCullough up the racetrack, and then, I mean, now it's such a big stack up that Ward and the 69, they just kind of get stuck together, and the 92 gets plowed down the racetrack here. And as a result, by the way, the 69, Jacob Johnson, he gets in to the pack, and it's on from there. Christopher McCullough gets up along the safer barrier. You see him wrecking up a little bit further on your screen. That was Ward and Tony Cox, and then just the mad scatter to miss it. The 51 trying to sneak through Andrew Smith, but there's just nowhere to go as all the gaps close up. And then I think Christopher McCullough here is going to roll down on his roof, and that thing goes for almost two barrel rolls once he gets into the grass. And it's going to be another night ender here early for a lot of big names that we thought were going to have a chance at this thing.
Yeah, and for the guys that, a little bit of the less experienced guys, I think the more conservative approach might be paying off in both the first heat and in this heat. Seems like the guys that have tried to push the third lane, seems like those are the guys that have had their night ended early, because it just doesn't seem like the drivers are able to sustain the third without, either a bumper hook or just tunnel vision. It just, something is going wrong here. So for the guys that are kind of staying patient and rolling the bottom lane, I think it's going to pay dividends. I really do.
Certainly might. And, looking back at that wreck, Kody, I'm still a little bit confused as to why exactly Chris let out. I mean, I certainly have a couple ideas, but I mean, from all the views I can see, there was nothing that would have made me think that he would have bailed out as much as he did. Do you think maybe, I don't know, you think he had hot engine temps, or did he think he was going to hit the one wrong? I mean, what do you make of that?
It's tough to sit here because I was actually thinking the same thing. The first thing I thought is, did he have one of them like ghost engine blows where like your engine's already giving away? But I don't think he was that hot to where he was going to blow, but I could be wrong. But it was such a sudden checkup that it really makes you think. Really, I can't really pinpoint it. I'm going to be honest with you. It's baffling up here to try to reason or think why the sudden checkup happened. Like I said, it might have had to do with the engine expiring.
Certainly could have been the case, but either way, again, a very tough break for a lot of drivers who are looking to see if they could have a shot at either some money here tonight or potentially a free entry in the SummerSlam. And I mean, looking at some of these guys that are getting taken out right now, Kody, this may make that separate pot for the feature event not really that racy, in the sense of we may only have 4 of the guys that paid to enter this thing in it, with as many that are getting taken out right now. But up front, Dylan Jones leads the way. Jeff Merckx second. Sean Bowdy back in third. Joe Herta fourth. And then Matt Lee rounding out your top 5. So as it stands here, 9 to go, anybody that pits is going to be good to go on fuel, so we would expect everybody to be in a good spot right now. And it'll be, looks like a 7 lap to go restart here. See if we can keep it green the rest of the way. And again, don't leave after this race is over, because we've got a feature coming up for you. 20 laps will be the distance for that one. By the way, I know you're hearing us say it a lot, but it's because that's kind of the whole point of what we're doing here for the SummerSlam that is coming up in just a couple more weeks. Not this weekend, but next weekend. So excited for that. Already had a couple sponsors that hopped on board, by the way. And I want to make sure I get the name right of one of them here. I know the other one is. I'm sure a lot of you have probably heard of it. Prime Hydration. I'll put on board. Not a big sponsor, but one of the sponsors that is certainly helping out, and that certainly means a lot. We appreciate their support for this event, and excited to see if maybe they can help out PGR at any point going forward. And then the other sponsor is going to be Kanawha Valley Key and Fob. That's courtesy of John Mullahan, his company. That is mobile lockout service, key and fob replacement. And we'll be having those sponsors all up on the broadcast during the event. So, hey, if you or anyone you know are interested in sponsoring this event, whether it's a small sponsor or a big sponsor, either let us know here in the chat and we'll get you hooked up with the right person, or if you're already in the PGR Discord, make sure you message Michael Triscaro. Still looking for a partner sponsor. So if you have a company that wants to lay, a little bit more money on the line than some of the smaller sponsors, you can get yourself get your company's name out there pretty well for this event. We're looking forward to it, Kody. And last I heard, again, we don't know the official numbers, so we're not going to go that far into it, but we're looking already over halfway point for entries, and that's a lot considering what the entries are based off of. I mean, payouts at this point are already going to be pretty high, and they're just going to keep getting higher as we get closer.
Yeah, and $1,000 guarantee for, the entries being, give or take around halfway filled up. I mean, it's just insane to think about. And for any potential sponsors out there looking to sponsor, I mean, this is in my opinion, the quickest emerging promotion, money racing or otherwise, on the platform. And I think this would be just a great entry point to be able to essentially come in, name your price on what kind of sponsorship level you want, and be able to get in with something that's still, relatively fresh. So to be a part of that, I think, is an amazing opportunity.
Certainly is. And you said something that made my ears ring again, Kody, and that's that $1,000 guarantee. That means if we only had one entry, still that guy's getting $1,000. So we'll be looking forward to that. And I know the drivers certainly are. The green flag is back in the air, and 7 laps to go in heat number 2. I saw a little bit of stacking up in the back, and it looks like it's the 21 who's getting shuffled off here right out of the gate. That's Randy Showers. He had a lot of damage, though. And so they're going to sort that issue out pretty quickly. 2 by 2 up front through turn 1 and 2. Dylan Jones on the bottom. Jeff Merck up top. That's Sean Bounty in the 34 just behind, pushing on the inside. Matt Lee there as well. And then on the outside, you've got the one of Joe Herta's. Oh, big stack up right there as Bounty and Jones got a little offset, and that's going to spook Trevor Osmanoff up to the top lane. Matt Lee almost looking 3 wide into turn 3.
Yeah, and looking back, there looks to be a lot of cars with damage here. This pack is already getting spread out. We're getting in on the closing phases of heat number 2, and it's looking like there's only going to be about a dozen cars that might have a viable chance at winning this race.
Well, Jeff Merck up top with Joe Herta. I don't think those two are going to make a move here, but Dylan Jones, he's going to be thinking here, try to control these lanes the best he can. But, I mean, I'm looking back here, and the front pack is really not that many cars at this point because we had so many taken out through that big wreck that we just cleaned up with that last caution. And so now you wonder, how does that change the approach, right? I mean, 15 transfer, and that goes all the way back to Mike Davenport here, who sits leading kind of that second group of 4. A couple of those cars damaged. So I think if you're anybody in the front group, Kody, I know you want to get racy, but God forbid, save it for the last lap. The worst thing you could have happen here is get yourself in a wreck when you're already locked in and not even advanced to that final feature.
Nah, you said it. There's not a lot of cars. I mean, you're talking around 10, maybe 12 in this lead pack. If you can make a move, because obviously you want to win the race, why not wait until the last lap or 2 and just push with fresh temps? Tom Dixon's still having a very good run, but I don't think he's going to want to go to the 3rd. The Jack Shack teammates might want to go up to the 3rd right now, but, Matt Lee is one of the more aggressive drivers in this pack, and he's lead pusher on the bottom, so he has really nowhere to go. I'm kind of trying to add it up here, and I really don't see the combination that I feel like is going to commit to actually going to the 3rd.
And I think Lee's smart enough to know what we just talked about here. Of course, he's one of your teammates, and I don't think he has any plans on moving. I think he feels just fine behind that 34. We'll see. Like you said, kind of wondering what some of these guys with a little bit less experience are doing. Bounty, plenty of experience when it comes to super speedways, but I feel like one of those factors that you really only see kind of get included in some of these money racing super speedway series is when you have guys up front that work the lanes. Seems like that kind of got introduced in the money racing scene, and it's been that way since. So, wonder if Sean Bounty tries to do that. If not, it certainly makes Lee's job tougher, but they're not going to have to worry about it anymore because Dylan Jones gets clear. He'll drop down. That'll give Jeff Merck a chance to cool up top, and that'll give Matt Lee in the 04 a chance to cool 3rd in line on the bottom. Moves Joe Herta back to 2nd. Tom Dixon, look even behind him, Trevor Osmanoff. Maybe those two think about a move at the end of this thing, but 3.5 laps to go. Still got to make it all the way to the white flag for this race to be official, and while we've got racing up front, still got a little bit of racing for that transfer position because right now, Richard Elliott and Zach Saunders, 16th and 17th, tagged onto the second group. They're just outside of it, and they're going to have to get around that 43 of Gabrion Gali and Mike Davenport. Well, they don't have to get around Davenport, but they do have to get around Gabrion Gali if they want to transfer. And there's 2 of them. Only one of them can make it, and I think if you're Richard Elliott, you got to try to go here before Saunders does, because if you wait for him to go, then you don't have any help behind you to try to get around.
Yeah, if you're Richard Elliott, you got to go now, I think. You want to try to establish the spot because if you don't, like you said, they're going to take the spot from you, and then you might not even have the option on the last lap. So, and Richard Elliott's I'm sorry, I'm getting lost for words here. The strategy that he needs to do right now is just making sure that he establishes to try to take that spot before anyone else does.
All right, we'll turn our attention now back to the front of the field as, boy, things got really scattered. I don't know what happened here, but Tom Dixon, he's going to lose touch with this lead pack here. Can't tell if he got any damage, but 411 He's going to lose touch with the leaders here. Hopefully this car's still got enough pace. Oh, did he blow a motor? I think he did. I think Tom Dixon, the 411, may have had motor issues here. He's running very low RPMs here. Let's back this up, see what happens. He's running third in line. And then looking here, down the back, fine here. Oh no, didn't have motor issues. He got turned into the wall. Oh man, that's a huge hit. As Merck had trouble with somebody else at the front there that led to the contact, then as Merck's trying to save it, comes off the wall and slams Dixon up the track. So that would explain why he's slow. Nonetheless, though, we keep it green, and back up front, Joe Herta now leads the outside. Dylan Jones still leading the inside with a push from Boundy, and as they come off of turn 4, they'll see the white flag waving this time, and if they can make it to it, this race will be official.
Yeah, it looked like Joe just got into Jeff Merck there, and just nothing to throw the iRacing caution, and now it, puts the race, I feel like, firmly in the guys that are up top right now, Joe Herta, Trevor Oswanoff, and Matt Lee really has nowhere to go at this point, so it's either going to be Dylan Jones or Joe Herta, I believe.
We're getting ready to find out. Jones on the bottom. If he gets clear, does he think about one more move to the top? Again, everybody you see in this lead pack set to advance. The big question now is just who is going to come home a winner here in heat number 2. Dylan Jones still on the bottom. The one of Joe Herta with his teammate Trevor Oswanoff up top. Final time into turn 3. The 13 will start to get a little bit of resurgence now. Sean Bounty's going to set him up for one more big push. Can Trevor Oswanoff get him clear? Does Matt Lee try to be a third car in that tandem? Big push off of 4. The one of Herta is now going to pull his nose out in front as they go into the trial now for the final time. Jones versus Herta all the way to the checkers, and it's going to go to, looks like Joe Herta takes it by less than 1,000th of a second. Or excuse me, less than 100th of a second. So close, I couldn't call it from here. Looks like official results had it as Joe Herta. Let's see just how close this is from the photo finish cam. Oh my goodness. And we'll get to see what the official scoring is on that in just a moment. But watch this again right here. They started wrecking out back, but if we go frame by frame, wow, I can't tell, Kody, from that angle. Man, that is so close. What a finish.
No, it was a very good finish. And it was just a good old-fashioned, 2-on-2 battle. You got teammates up top. You got Dylan Jones and Sean Bounty on the bottom. A lot of very, very experienced super speedway guys, and quite frankly, guys that all of them in their own right could make, a lot of noise come the SummerSlam 499.
Boy, what a finish that was, and what a great win for Joe Herta. He will be one of the guys advancing to your feature. And speaking of, looks like these guys are going to have a brief warm-up. So as they have that, we'll look at your results here for heat number 2. Joe Herta, again, your winner. Dylan Jones, 2nd. Sean Bounty in 3rd with Trevor Oswanoff, 4th. Matt Lee, 5th. Joey Galati in 6th. Paul Flyback in 7th with Josh Gambron in 8th. Timmy Lewis Jr. in 9th. It looks like it is going to be Noah Lurch rounding out your top 10. John Stapleton back in 11th with Zach Saunders in 12th. Mike Davenport 13th. Richard Elliott made his way in at 14th. And Jeff Merck going to be able to hold on as he finishes in 15th. And for respect to the drivers that we didn't get to in Heat 1, we'll go ahead and stop there in Heat 2 as well. As again, you hear the cars on track coming to life, and that is for a brief warm-up session before we do get to the featured event here tonight. So they have just about a minute left. Not much time, not really much time to do anything. Just grab a quick break, which I encourage you guys to go do that are watching right now at home, and get ready for what is going to be certainly a pretty exciting feature. And I don't know, who do you got here as a pick, Kody? It's a tough choice for me, but I think I got my money on Ken McCullough Jr. here. I mean, that's 2 heats in a row now that he's won. I think he's due for a feature.
I'm looking through, just give me just a second here. You know what? I'm going to go with one of the younger guys that's relatively new to the community. Give me Landon Velicki.
That is a strong choice indeed. Well, 30 seconds, so just a couple more announcements. Tomorrow night, well actually, nope, tomorrow's Wednesday, I take that back. Thursday night, PGR will be back for the final race before the SummerSlam, so make sure you tune into that. Looking forward to it. And then for any of the drivers out there that are running 24 Hours of Spa this coming weekend, good luck. I know that me and you and Alex Hill, who's not in this race tonight, Kody, are going to put an attempt in there for that. So looking forward to it. A lot of exciting things coming up. Good time to take part in iRacing and all the big events. But as we continue to gear up for the SummerSlam, I mean, I kind of wanted to touch back on that point of the prize to the winner. And this is always how I looked at money racing for any event. When I hear the word $1,000 to win, and you look at what I think the entry fee is 30 or 35, to me, if I hear that, even if I'm thinking of a lottery, and these aren't even a lottery, but if you look at it that way, you pay $30, $35 for a chance to win $1,000. To me, that's a good gamble any day of the week. But don't forget, it's not just money to first. Those payouts go all the way back, I think up to 20th, and it's 40 that make the field. And those payouts that go all the way back to 20th, they're really good payouts. You're talking more than just simply doubling your money. So, you make it into that feature event, and of course there's going to be prizes for prelims, LCQs. So you make it to that feature event, and you've got a really good chance to make some serious cash. Even if you're one of the drivers who maybe feels like it's a little bit newer, you feel like you got a good car to compete top 20, maybe not go win it, but there's a lot of opportunity in that event, and certainly going to be a chance for a lot of guys to build and maybe a lot of guys to make their way into the money racing scene.
And for the guys that are looking for the additional experience too, I think you're getting your money's worth with $30 just to be able to race against some of the top names in super speedway money racing, and quite frankly, some of the top names. You're going to have Coke drivers in the field. You're going to have guys that you can watch on the track and race around to gain valuable experience. And that's not even to take into consideration the $1,000 for first place and the payouts all the way to 20th. There's just plenty of opportunity in the SummerSlam 499 for the cash payouts, for the experience, to get your name out there. If you're looking to join a team, go out there, put on a good performance, put on a show for the people watching. And like I said, for the fellow drivers, if you're trying to make a name for yourself to join like a bigger, more established team, if you're not running for a team, there is plenty of opportunity.
Can't forget about SummerSlam belt that'll go with it as well. And yeah, you said it, Coke Series drivers. Actually, from what I saw in the chat, in one of the recruitment races these guys had the other day, they actually had a NASCAR Xfinity Series driver in one of them. So good on that. And without further ado, let's take a look at your starting grid here for your feature event here tonight. Ken McCullough Jr., Heat 1 winner. We'll start on the pole with Heat 2 winner Joe Herta to his outside in second. Joshua Sutherland back in third. Dylan Jones fourth. Landon Velicky back in fifth with Sean Boundy in sixth. Joshua McCullough seventh. Trevor Osnoff eighth. Todd Macy in ninth. And Matt Lee rounding out your top 10.
Mark Vondell, good to see Mark Vondell on the track. He will be 11th. To his outside is Joey Galati in 12th. Adam Young is 13th. Paul Fly is 14th. Teresa Spiker is 15th. Josh Gimbroni is 16th. Edward Fiedler is 17th. Timothy Lewis in 18th. Brock Westmoreland in 19th. And to his outside, rounding out the top 20, is Noah Lurch.
I believe, yep, that's Tony Richards for a minute. A little bit smaller on my screen. Yep, Tony Richards in 21st. John Stapleton 22nd. Aaron Watson back in 23rd with Zach Saunders in 24th. And then you've got, looks like Kenneth Lowry 25th. Mike Davenport 26th. Greg Spiker 27th. Richard Elliott 28th. Michael Triscaro 29th. And Jeff Merck rounding out your top 30. All right, here we go. Pace car going to make the left turn for what will be the final first race restart of the night for any event, because it's your feature event. That means now all the prizes and money is on the line. Don't forget payouts to the top 4 for the regulars, and then 3 free entries into the SummerSlam for the new guys. Here we go, 20 laps, and we are underway at Talladega. Green flag is in the air for the feature. We're muted.
All right, Kenny McCullough right now is so far. I mean, he's doing a very good job holding the bottom line. I'm thinking Josh Sutherland probably going to start getting a little bit hot. You know, if Josh Sutherland could get Kenny clear, I would say that you should see Kenny, you know, not clear just yet, but he's going to start wanting to cycle temps here in just a moment.
He certainly is, but see a third lane way towards the back, trying to get formed up, but looks like it's being led by Mike Davenport, Jeff Merck, and Michael Trisquero, so certainly a good trio to be in that third lane. But the problem is they're just so far back. There's so many things that have to go right here for them to get all the way to the front, with the big one being that Jeff Merck has enough temps to get that 55 all the way up there, and we'll see if he can make it happen. If they can get a couple other guys to jump out, certainly make that task a lot easier. But right now, still 2x2 up front. And you've got the one of Joe Herta leading the inside now, Dylan Jones on the outside, Sean Boundy, Ken McCullough Jr., the two lead pushers, and there you go. The 94 jumped up. Davenport had fresher temps, and so now you start to see that third line resurge again. Looks like Joey Galati is going to jump up off of 2 as well.
And up front, Dylan Jones. What a fantastic job that Dylan Jones did pushing there. Being able to get, who is that leading here? Give me just a second. Joe Herta. He pushed Joe Herta fantastic. He had a good pusher in his own right, and Sean Bounty behind him, but that middle lane is looking very, very strong. Kenny McCullough, I'm not quite sure if he's going to be able to wiggle himself clear. Josh Sutherland just a little bit too far off of him for that bottom to roll.
So the bottom may not be rolling quite as well as expected right now, but that hot track temp certainly going to continue to favor that outside and even that third lane once these two lanes start to get hot. But right now, as they remain 3x3 towards the middle portions of the pack, it's Joshua McCullough who leads that third lane. And now they start to fade a little bit. Joey Galati, whew, man, almost got together right there with the 88. Trying to figure out exactly who that was, but man, a couple of really close calls here, especially in the early going, as everybody continues to fight for position. Richard Elliott trying to make the best of getting himself into the feature here tonight as he continues to work his way through the field. And another one of these drivers that's catching my eye right now is John Stapleton in the middle of that 88 National Guard Dale Earnhardt Jr. paint scheme. He's in a tricky spot right now. I mean, I've seen a lot of guys moving around him here, and he looks maybe a little bit uncomfortable, but doing a good job keeping that car straight. And Jeff Burke behind him. If that third lane opens up, it's going to be a good guy that he's going to have to go with him if he chooses to do so. 16 laps to go now as they cross the line, but remember, 35% fuel. That means there should be a pit stop somewhere around the halfway mark. Kody, with this one being a bit longer, does the strategy change, or do you still try to go in as soon as you can if you can find 3 or 4 other guys to go with you?
Well, you're not going to have quite the flexibility to pit early on. Like you said, you're going to have to do it somewhere around the halfway point. So we'll call it somewhere between about lap 8 or 9, and lap 12. They're going to have to pit. So that gives you 4, maybe 5 laps of flexibility. Again, if you're running in a smaller Discord, I would say run it out or pit when the biggest group pits. If you're on a larger team that has numbers, again, get in and get out as quickly as possible.
It'll be 15 laps to go this time, and again, looking like the farthest they can go on fuel is maybe somewhere around 12 laps, at least from what we know, 35%. So we'll see if anybody does stretch it that far. But for now, Matt Lee, man, almost trouble up top there for Joey Galati. Wow, that was a big moment, but he's going to be able to hold on to it. Matt Lee with Joshua McCullough. They've got good speed, but they need some more help, and right now, Joey Galati just not able to provide it. So that third lane is going to go to a stalemate for now. Meanwhile, up front, you've got Sean Bounty still in the middle with the 03 of Ken McCullough Jr. just behind him, and the 62 of Josh Sutherland continues to impress. I know he wasn't either of our picks for this race, Kody, but he looked really good for the middle to late portions of heat number 1. Almost won it, didn't have any aero help, got past at the last second, but he could certainly be a contender here. It seems like him and Ken McCullough Jr. are working pretty good together right now.
Yeah, and he was looking very, very strong until that bumper hook. And I mean, everyone's going to make mistakes, especially in a car where you've seen it, Austin. I mean, the bumper hooks are very, very common, especially off of turn 4. It just seems like that's been a common thing. Even with the biggest names in money racing, it just seems like nobody is really able to get it right with the pushing in this car. They are very, very touchy. But other than that, Josh Sutherland has looked very, very sharp.
He certainly has. You know who else has looked sharp just about all night is Sean Boundy in that 34. Continues his good run. He'll try to push Matt Lee, but it's Ken McCullough Jr. who surges way out in front. We'll see if the 03 jumps up. Sure enough, he does. That'll allow the 62 to cycle temps as him and Lee almost got together. Oh, now the 62 gets partially turned. Veliky, though, is able to cut him enough of a break to allow him to sneak back in line. That's another really, really close call, but nicely done right there by Veliky to give him a chance to hold on to it. And you know what, Kody, that's what you got to do. I mean, that's another position where, say in that case, Veliky just tries to force the issue once the 62 goes off, doesn't want to let him back up. All it does is leads to a wreck, but by him letting him up, they maintain progress. And actually, look at this, they're still running top 3 on the inside. And the reason I bring that up is because what we saw there, that's going to be really important in a race where you're going 499 miles, and there's going to be mistakes. You're going to see things like that, but it's about how do you approach the mistake, risk versus reward, right? How aggressive are you early on? Do you need to try to force the issue if a guy's having, struggle, or do you maybe back off a little bit? Give that guy a chance to save it. Don't put yourself in a bad position. I think that's what you got to do, and I think Veliky did a great job right there.
Yeah, and Veliky also made a friend in Josh Sutherland, and I guarantee you, if it gets late in this race, don't be surprised to see Josh Sutherland return the favor to Landon. It's a 499-mile feature if they make the SummerSlam race. You've got to be able to give and take a little bit. Give to the drivers around you, and they're going to be willing to give it back to you. Whereas if you take there, even if you do not wreck, you're going to piss off somebody, and that guy, he's going to remember that the next time that you make a mistake. He's not going to be so willing to give you that track position back.
Yeah, you need friends to get to the front. That is the name of the game of these super speedways. But right now, a couple of friends, teammates, in fact, at the front. Joshua McCullough and Ken McCullough Jr. leading the way in the middle on the outside. But looks like as the outside lane will fade a little bit, it's going to be Matt Lee on the inside who starts to resurge it. Here we go. First round of pit stops, and it looks like it's going to be a lot of the PGR guys. Getting in. Oh, yep, looks like they're all going to get down to speed. No issues. Looks like it is Michael Triscaro. I see Jeff Merck as well, Mike Davenport, and Richard Elliott. And we have one more car come in just behind them. That's Noah Lurch. Looks like he's a little bit delayed, though, so I don't know if he'll be able to hang on to these guys once they work their way out of the pits. But Triscaro, Elliott, Merck, all with clean stops. Davenport, though, got hung up a little bit. He's in a tough spot, but I like that call, Kody. And I think by them pitting there, I think they're going to force the hand of the rest of these guys to maybe pit a lap or two early as well.
Absolutely, and again, the guys that stayed out only have about 3 to 4 more laps that they can stay out. I think it's probably too risky to try to run it out at this point, because when you see a team of 4 or a team of 5 pit as early as, that they just did, like you said, I think you force the hand of everyone else to pit, and we talked about it earlier. If the front pack wrecks, who's going to cycle to the front? It's going to be Team PGR. I absolutely love the call there to come in and pit early.
Love the call. The only problem is each lap that this lead pack stays out, that's a little bit of time they're going to lose, because remember, they didn't quite come out with everybody that they went in with here. So Michael Triscaro leads that group. He's got Jeff Merck pushing Richard Elliott in tow, and they need to get a little bit tighter. Unfortunately, though, for them, Mike Davenport is not in tow, so he'll need a caution here with 10 laps to go. But they're going to go by, looks like Noah Lurch right there, down the back stretch as he was below the apron, and 10 laps to go. They can still maybe go another lap or two, but we'll see if anybody decides to bring it in this time. Watch off of turn 4 to see if anybody dives down below that double yellow line. Do we see any takers? No, not this time. Matt Lee will keep everybody out on the inside. Then, of course, Ken McCullough Jr. company on the outside, not going to be able to duck down even if they wanted to. Normally, we start to see them get single file, Kody, but them staying 2x2 like this, if you got to pit from that outside, it's going to be a tough task to call for, especially with as much inexperience as we've got in the field here tonight.
Man, and it's just going to be interesting to see the dynamic with Team PGR pitting as early as they did, and Mike Davenport not able to stay with his team. I think we both understand here that they're not going to be running the times that this lead pack is running. I still like the call that they did. Maybe it's not executed to perfection, but I think they're still going to run fast enough times to keep the lead pack, which is all they really need to do at this point. I think this lead group may be pitting this time by.
Well, here we go. We're going to find out off turn 4. And not the lead group, but certainly a couple takers further back. Second out of this pack. Oh, big lock up for the 10. He's going to get into Sean Boundy. Oh, man, a huge hit into the inside wall for the 10 of Greg Spiker as he locked up that number 10 Camaro. And while he's got big damage, he's also going to have a speeding penalty, and you hope that that didn't get Sean Boundy a speeding penalty as well, as he did a great job getting down to speed, but it's just a bit of a mistake there from Spiker. Looks like Teresa Spiker also got in. She gets in a little bit cleaner than her teammate. But nonetheless, yeah, the 52 now loops it around on exit. So trouble for a couple of drivers there, and I think this lap you'll see the rest of them bring it down.
Yeah, and the guys that decided to, game plan to stay out as long as possible, the group that's pitting right now, they're in the catbird seat you know, like we said, the early group didn't get in and out as clean as they would have liked.
One spun around, started to cut you off. That's a big hit for Joey Galati along with the 88 as well. Oh man, that is not the way to get onto the pits on the money stop. The 88, trying to figure out, I think that was John Stapleton. Yes, it was. And then the 661. Again, that was Joey Galati. Big hit into the inside wall, and then when he bounced back, he ran into a couple other cars, so he's going to immediately tow. He's not even going to try to make it back out, so that'll be a night ender for him, maybe a couple others, but keep it on the front of this group. Ken McCullough Jr. let him in. Is he going to lead him out? Yes, he does, but Matt Lee with a great run, as does the 89 of Ozornoff, Dylan Jones. They'll all sneak in front of this 03. Now it's the Mad Scatter to get lined back up here and try to get grouped together and get up to speed before that PGR crew is able to get to these guys' back bumper.
And that's what I've got my eyes glued to right now, is to see, you know, one, can the PGR crew catch this pack? And two, are they going to be able to make up any time and get their track position?
Well, it's going to be mighty close. I'll tell you what, in terms of if they catch, I think they are. Yeah, I think they're going to get them here.
They will.
As much speed as they got, they'll jump right behind this little second group that's acting kind of as a bridge. And once they get there, they'll try to hug the inside. Oh, let's see here.
Boy, it's still going to be close.
It is going to be close. That's something to keep an eye on. I think they got to try to work with these two here. If you shoot by the outside, they're just going to lose too much time.
No, you can't fight right now. Josh McCullough's plenty capable, and I do think McCullough, if he doesn't have a sniff of that lead group, he is very, very close. No, if you fight the group of two that's in front of you, led by Josh McCullough right now, you know, I think you're in jeopardy of losing the pack. But Josh McCullough, he does have draft right now. They are pulling that lead group in.
They certainly are, and we'll see what happens right here, but it looks like, yep, just going to stick to working with them. I'm going to push them, and remember, the drafting range is a second and a half, and they are there. And so with just 6 laps to go, going to be 5 when they cross the stripe this time. The race is on, and it's not like the heats, Cody, where you're saying, hey, we're all in the top 15, we're going to go. No, no, no. There is prizes on the line now, and I look at the outside, including Trevor Osmoff, maybe even Landon Veliky. Those, I think, are all considered regulars, so those guys are fighting for money for the top 4 finishers between them. But let's turn our attention to the top 3 non-regulars in here. I look at a guy like Josh Sutherland, Josh Gambrone potentially as well, Todd Macy, and I think that rounds out everybody that's in this lead pack that would be fighting for those top 3 spots. So they may already have that locked up. In the main race, we'll see here as the guys racing for money. 3 wide now off of 2.
Yeah, and you've seen Kenny McCullough go. He sees Josh McCullough. He's going to jump right up to the 3rd. Very strong combination. You know the McCulloughs love to run up there. If they can get any help from Todd and Mace, I think Kenny could get clear. But, man, I mean, the middle line is very, very formed up. And I don't know what Dylan has for temps right now. But as good of a pusher as Josh is, I'd have to think that he's going to have a chance to clear Kenny.
And they're going to, well, I was getting ready to say they'd be 4 wide. It looks like the lapper there, Sean Boundy, is going to go low. And you know what, I just realized, I think maybe Boundy did indeed get a speeding penalty for that contact. That's a tough break because Boundy was doing so good up to that point. But how about Todd Macy? I mean, we saw him with a heck of a save in his heat race and was able to still hold on, advance into the feature, and he has not disappointed. This is one of the guys that he's done a little bit of money racing through his time, but not a lot, not nearly as much as some of the guys he's running with, but you certainly wouldn't know with how well he's running right now. Matt Lee jumps back down to the bottom. Jones still in the middle. Ken McCullough Jr. up top, and we're coming to 3 laps to go next time, Cody. That means 2 away from this race being official, but oh, there it is. Triscaro gets turned hard into the wall. The big one here in the feature strikes with 4 to go. Joshua McCullough's in it. Todd Macy as well. I think I saw Landon Veliky involved. I think that was actually potentially where it started, as there's cars arriving on scene here that are trying to miss it. And Rondell, did he potentially pile in a little bit late here? There's Jeff Merck. He's got damage. And so now it looks like we are going to go ahead and head into overtime.
And I hate to say it, but it looked like Todd just got a little bit loose. He wasn't getting pushed by Merck, but looks like he just gets a little bit loose. And unfortunately for Triscaro, that's going to end his night. Very tough break for Michael Triscaro and several others.
It's exactly what I saw. The view we were watching from, that's what it looked like. It looked like he started wiggling. I thought for a brief moment he was going to catch it, but then the second wiggle was kind of, you know, where he got down into Triscaro. But we'll play it slow first. There's that first wiggle, and then this is going to be that second wiggle. And then that second one's the one where he gets all the way down into Michael Triscaro, and that turns the 34 up the track. He had nowhere to go. That's a huge hit for Michael Triscaro. Look at that car get up into the air. Almost flips over, as Joshua McCullough also had absolutely nowhere to go. Michael Triscaro is going to slide down the banking as the 05 rides along the safer barrier. Jeff slides down. There goes the 05, and the 54 will be the last man to slide off the safer barrier right here. And I mean, hot tires, when you're on that third lane, Kody, it's so important. You don't hear this a lot in some of the other series, but especially in these Xfinity cars, you have got to set the car before you get into the corner. You can't wait to get into the corner and then jerk the wheel left. You've got to kind of turn into the corner before you get there. And it looked like he did that a little bit, but it just steps out a bit on him. And once it does, he's just not able to quite catch it in time with how tight they were running.
Yeah, and that's also the big decision that you have in a race like this where you're pitting under green. Do you elect to take fuel only, where you can get out with the fastest possible pit time and the best track position, or do you elect to take lefts where in that situation, you know, if you've got fresh tires, I don't believe that happens, but it's just that it's the decision that you have to make. Do you want grip or do you want track position? You know, Todd had pretty good track position there, but it just looked like with the hot track, tires heating up, and it's a very common thing you see in the Xfinity car where they just, if they overcorrect just a little bit, it just seems to get the car loose, and the next thing you know, they're self-spinning.
I'll tell you what, it is a good thing that these guys got the chance to learn now, because we may have a similar track temp for the SummerSlam, and if we do, gonna have to know how to prepare for it. Maybe Todd Macy says to himself, I didn't like the way that felt. I don't think I'm going to try that again. I'll get some tires next time. Or maybe he thinks, you know, after that, okay, well, I know what it felt like, so I know how I'm going to adjust so that that doesn't happen again. But looking at it now, again, going to be our first overtime, 2 to go. It's going to get crazy, so we're going to go ahead and take a quick break. We'll go side by side, and we will be back for what could be the final restart. Stick with us. Be back at Talladega. Green flag is in the air. We are racing.
Three by three. Almost no trouble. Around goes Alex Hill. On into the outside wall goes Hill. They're wrecking big time out back. We're not going to throw a caution. Finish. Who gets it in the line? Kody Neagles wins it in Talladega.
Welcome back to Talladega Superspeedway, getting ready for overtime number 1. Here in the PGR SummerSlam 499 recruitment race feature event. And by the way, Mark Math, yes, Sean Boundy did get the lucky dog. So looks like the 34 is back on the lead lap with a chance at this thing. Going to line up behind Greg Spiker. But I don't think Greg's on the lead lap, so that may not be for position. Either way, with the way things are setting up here, It's going to be a 2-lap shootout. We've got to make it to the white flag for this race to be official. Okay, here we go. Lee Jones on the front row. Oswald, Brock Westerlin in row 2. And then the 03 of Ken McCullough Jr. and the 62 of Landon Velicki in row 3. Green flag is back in the air. 2 laps to go at Talladega. And it's a great start from Dylan Jones, but Matt Lee on the inside washes up just enough to try to get a bit of a side draft into turn 1. Boy, the 12 is locked on, but here comes Trevor Osmanoff and Ken McCullough Jr. The field starts to space out a little bit now as you go further back. They need to get lined up because somebody's going to have to get that third lane working if they want to get to the front, and they've got it working, but it's just too far back. Still 2x2 at the front of the field, and oh, they're going to wreck. They're going to wreck out back. Caution is back out as sliding down the racetrack. That's the one. I'm trying to figure out who that was. That was Noah Lurch, and this is what you get worried about, and we talk about why you shouldn't get 3 wide back there, because this is what happens. You don't make any progress towards the front. Instead, all you end up doing is getting into this position and lead now to another caution. So let's go back and see how this one happens. So this is the chop review. They're going to go 4 wide here. And again, just, we like to try to, kind of keep it. I know there's a lot of inexperience, but that's definitely one of those scenarios where you kind of ask yourself why. I mean, what are we doing here? 4 wide back for whatever it is, 25th position. It's not going to gain anybody anything here. Instead, line up, try to find one of the lanes that's already got some momentum and go with it. But I think that's the 00 there who's kind of in the middle. And then as that 4th lane gets formed up on the outside, there's just not much to be done there. Noah Lurch, he's going to go around. And then the 94, a couple others are going to go for a spin as well. And wow, that was a close call down on the bottom as the 00 almost collected. I can tell exactly who it was, but man, another big moment. But Kody, that's one of those ones, end of the race, late caution, people start to get a little bit more desperate, and that's one of those things where you definitely got to learn now, because I can tell you from racing these kind of events and broadcasting a couple of them that when you get to these big events, you try to do this at the end, it's just not going to work out really good for anybody. You've got to work together to make progress.
Well, I'm seeing Heath Job right now in chat say, shaking my head. Heath, I'm going to have to agree with you here. I really don't know what Josh was thinking there. I mean, he's taking it 4 wide. You're side drafting the guys around you. You're in the back, essentially. Like, I want to know what the end game is here. If you're wanting to get up front, you have to work with somebody. It makes no sense to side draft the guys around you. We see it every single race, and it is these same mistakes. If a wreck happens up front, so be it. If you're in the back, like, literally, why? I'm sorry. I'm just gonna be honest with you. It is frustrating when we do this night in and night out to see people still making those same mistakes.
Well, certainly, again, will come with some more experience from the 00, but nonetheless, as we get ready to go back green, this will be the 2nd attempt at overtime. And so we go back towards the front of the field here. What I did notice there is a lot of the leaders had to pit potentially for fuel. Oswald's on the apron coasting, so now we might introduce potentially some fuel issues for some of these drivers. And remember, this isn't like real life where when they start to sputter, they can flip a switch and get an extra lap. I mean, when they start to sputter, that's it. You're done. You're out. And so if you sputter, I would say any more than, 100 feet from the start-finish line with as close as you're running, you're going to probably cause a wreck or you're going to not win this race. So I would think that Brock, Trevor, and a couple others that stayed out are confident enough in their fuel to be staying out. But if we have to go to that 3rd overtime, that's where maybe things start to get a little bit more dicey. So we'll have to see how that all pans out. But Brock Westerlin right now. Sorry, go ahead, Kody.
Well, I apologize for cutting you off. I'm just wondering if, like, Brock and some of them other guys may have filled the tank up, whereas, like, the Matt Lee group, I'm wondering if they took just the minimal amount. I mean, Brock might be good for one more green-white checker if he filled it up. I don't know. I'm just sitting here thinking, because I know guys like Lee are usually, they're going to take just the needed amount, where, again, you might just have a difference in the amount of fuel that you took. Kenny McCullough's another one. He might have just filled up. I mean, it makes you wonder, are they good for one more green-white checker?
That certainly could be the case, but I mean, either way, we know it's going to be close, so we'll have to see how it pans out. But I see Richard Elliott now pointing into view. He's got a good shot at this thing. Aaron Watson, one of the underdogs. Joshua Sutherland, he's been up here all night. Edward Fielder, that 66 machine, and then there's Josh Gambrone in the 00. who was just involved in that last caution, so not sure exactly how that all shaped out, that he's up to 8th, but nonetheless, we get ready to go back green. Looks like the lights are going to go ahead and flip off on the pace car. And so that means it'll be a 2-lap shootout again. Same rules apply. Got to make it to the white flag for this race to be official. And, well, initially, we were hoping to get this race over with by midnight, but times that's just not the way things go. So we will not be having interviews, though, tonight, by the way. So post-race coverage will be pretty brief. I know we have work in the morning, so just wanted to give these guys a little bit of extra coverage. I think is the way you put it earlier, Kody. We like to give these guys a chance at bonus coverage. You know, I've said it before, but when I was a driver first kind of starting out in iRacing in some of the leagues, and even to this day, I mean, there's nothing cooler than getting to watch yourself back on a broadcast and see what it looked like from a different perspective, and sometimes you actually can learn a little bit of stuff from it as well. So hope that everybody out here watching tonight, drivers and fans, are having a good time. We certainly appreciate you being here. And as we get ready for this restart again, final time that we'll remind you here tonight about that Summer Slam 499 event that we've been mentioning quite a bit. Biggest event of the summer coming up in just a couple weeks, July 27th and 28th. Make sure you tune in for that one. We'll have the link and a whole bunch more, but the official broadcast team has already been announced. It's going to be myself, Austin Green, Kody Neagles, who's of course joining me in the booth here tonight, along with Jacob Emery. He'll be making a return. Dawson Wise, you've seen him before on PGR, and then of course does Tuesday Night Thunder as my co-host. And then Michael Trisquero, series owner, will be helping to cover some of the heats as well. We'll be mixing things up through the heats, the LCQ, and then it'll be a 3-man broadcast crew for that LCQ, and then of course the feature. We're going to have broadcaster cams, so get to see all of our faces and live reactions to some of the stuff that goes on. And then of course we'll have driver cams making a return, so if you're thinking about wanting to have a driver cam, make sure you get yourself a webcam before that event. You can also use your phone as well. We'll have more info on that as it gets closer. All right, here we go. Back to the action on track as we get ready to wrap up tonight's feature. 2 laps to go. Overtime number 2. Green flag is in the air. And it's a great restart from Brock Westmoreland and Ken McCullough Jr. They get through the gears a little bit better than Trevor Osnoff in the 89. Still on the outside. And he's going to wait for a push here from Richard Elliott. Who can get the help first? The inside is still rolling. A lot of disorganization, Kody. And when you start to get gaps, you start to get runs, and when you get runs, you get passes. This is going to get interesting down the back.
Yeah, the 66 looked like he just didn't go there, and it's going to open up a huge opportunity for a lot of the guys that were on the bottom here. Going to give them a chance to possibly move up. You see Josh Sutherland take that opportunity to get up behind Richard Elliott. We are 3x3 entering turn 3. Here we go. We are entering 1 to go when we get to the line.
Yeah, and that 3x3 quickly is going to fade to 2x2 because that third lane has not made a lot of progress, at least not yet, but you're going to get a couple more takers here. Lee's kind of on the fence about jumping up here in front of Sean Boundy and Dylan Jones. He's waiting for that run to really form up, but here we go. White flag is in the air. 1 lap to go at Talladega, and it's Oswornoff who gets clear into turn 1.
There's a great clear down by Trevor Oswornoff. They are looking like the 3 on the bottom very, very well lined up with Brock Westmoreland pushing and Kenny McCullough, behind him. Richard Elliott, Josh Sutherland, and Zach Saunders in the middle. Let's see if the third lane can get any sort of push here coming into the tri-oval.
Boy, Sutherland, he had a... Oh, they're going to wrecking big into turn 3. Westmoreland got turned, and they're all going to pile up. Who's going to sneak through to win the race? Ken McCullough Jr. out in front. But the 58 of Aaron Watson, he's got another run, and he's going to take it to the outside. Ken McCullough Jr. throws 1 block. 58 goes low on the apron. Now Ken's going to try to wash up to block the 34. Bounty's going to wreck. They'll all wreck behind Ken McCullough Jr. He will take the race win. Well, I picked him, and he got the job done. And I think he may have taught some of the rookies there a little bit of a lesson about blocking in the money racing scene. And that's going to be a tough one to learn for a couple of guys that had a great shot at there at the end and almost faded out of view. Now I don't even see some of the drivers that were right there at the end. Sean Boundy fell all the way back to 7th. And then I was looking for Aaron Watson. He fell all the way back to 11th after being 2nd with a shot to win it coming into the tri-oval.
Yeah, again, I mean, it's just preaching patience, and Kenny McCullough, one of the more patient drivers in this field. It pays off in his heat, and it certainly pays off here in the feature event tonight.
So as the hot streak will continue now for Ken McCullough Jr., I want to go back and look at that checkered flag real quick. Checkered flag moment, if you will. before we end things off here and take a look at your results. So big wreck here coming into 3. The question was, where did it all go wrong? Watch from the TV3 view. Brock gets turned, but what does he get turned by here? I see Trevor duck low. Is it just, it might be a stack up. Yeah, I think what happens here is Brock gets Trevor out of shape, turns him down on the apron, and Brock, I think, is going to try to check up. Well, it kind of follows him onto the apron, and then, everybody's not going to let off. It's the last lap. Ken McCullough Jr. gets in the back of him. That turns the 12 up the racetrack, and big wreck out back, but the 58 sneaks by down low, and 58 has a run here. Let's see how this thing panned out all the way coming to the stripe here. Sean Bounty's got a good run. He sticks with the 58 here. 34 starts to look high. 58 goes up, and I'll tell you what, the block, Kody, there was really nothing wrong with that block. I mean, Ken actually, I would almost say that's a generous block with as soon as Ken went up there, if you're the 58, he's kind of giving you a choice there to go high or low with how early that block was. So I think if you're the 58 in that case, you just got to jump down or jump up a little bit sooner. He waits so late that when he makes the move, it's just him and Sean Bounty offset, turns the 58 down the racetrack. He gets into the grass ultimately, or rather gets back on the apron, and then right there the 62 and 34 get together, and it's set sail and into the sunset for Ken McCullough Jr.
Yeah, the 58 had a really good opportunity just to, kind of snap the car and go under Kenny there, but I don't know if he got loose with a little bit of a touch from Sean Bounty, but man, it just sure looked like he kind of overturned the wheel a little bit and went below the apron and just completely killed his momentum. But again, if he would have been a little bit sharper with that move down to the bottom, I really think he would have beat Kenny there.
I have to agree. Well, let's look at your final results here tonight. Joe Herda, that was for Heat 2. I was getting ready to say, unless we had something we missed, but looking at your feature, Ken McCullough Jr., your race winner here tonight. Zach Saunders in second, Landon Velicky in third, Edward Fielder in fourth, with Joe Herda back in that fifth spot, Adam Young sixth, Sean Bounty seventh, Josh Gambrone in eighth with Richard Elliott ninth, and Teresa Spiker, great run for her. She finishes in 10th.
And in 11th is Aaron Watson. Dylan Jones is in 12th. Greg Spiker in 13th. Mike Davenport in 14th. 15th is Joshua Sutherland. 16th is Trevor Oswornoff. 17th is Timothy Lewis. Matt Lee in 18th. Brock Westmoreland in 19th. And rounding out your top 20 is Noah Lurch.
Tony Richards finishes in 21st. Paul Fry, 22nd. Or Paul Fry, excuse me. Actually, again, to make sure we get everybody's name right here so that we continue to get ready for it, it is actually Paul Fly. So I apologize. Joshua McCullough, 23rd. Todd Macy, 24th. Michael Triscaro, 25th. Jeff Merck, 26th. Mark Vondell, 27th. Kenneth Lowry back in that 28th spot. And then riding out the field here tonight is Joey Gladdy in 29th and John Stapleton in 30th. All right, again, not going to do interviews here tonight, but nonetheless, what a great race it was. Another great recruitment race. And actually what I can say is, again, this is not official, but what I believe we have for the payouts and then the SummerSlam entries here tonight, Ken McCullough Jr. is going to be the first place for the payouts. Landon Velicky, I believe, will be second place for the payouts. Joe Herda, I believe, would be third for the payouts. And then I think it would be Richard Elliott fourth for the payouts. But again, that's not official. That's what I believe from at least the regular standpoint. And then the guys that should be getting the 3 SummerSlam entries, I believe, would be Zach Saunders, who finished in second, Edward Fielder, who finished in fourth, and then Adam Young, who finished in sixth. So hopefully those 3 drivers will get those entries, and we'll see them in the SummerSlam, and we will see you all on Thursday night, because that's going to wrap up coverage for myself and Kody Neagles here tonight from PGR eSports. Again, thank you all so much for tuning in. Until next time, have a good night.